All right. So we would have heard a lot of things, we would have learned a lot of things as it relates to eschatology. Anybody ever heard that word? You know, when we were in church,
Yes, I've heard it.
yes, you would hear that word from the highfalutin teachers. You know, in Jamaica, we have this practice of dropping big words in the aim of sounding intelligent. You just call a big word. Sometimes persons don't even know what it means, but they just say it, and because you say it, the audience assumes that you are bright and you are learned. So growing up, I would have heard this word eschatology. I said eschatological and all of these things. What it means is the study of the last days or the end time. So any study of end time events is eschatological. So we would have learned a lot of things. First, you would have learned that when you're dead, if you are good, you go to heaven. If you're bad, you go to hell. Then we graduated from that, got involved with the Church of God, and we learned that it doesn't necessarily happen like that. And we were taught some things that I am now getting to understand that that was also wrong. You would remember, I would have said to the assembly on a number of occasions that in order for a teacher to teach you about the end time, they can't only use the book of Revelation. Anybody remember me saying that?
Yes.
You can't only use the book of Revelation. Why? Because Revelation is the last of many books that cover this topic. So Revelation is basically an extension of the prophet Daniel. It's an extension of the prophet Zechariah. It's an extension of Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel. It's an extension of the book of Enoch. And so for an individual to attempt to teach you about the end times using only the book of Revelation, then chances are you are going to learn some madness, some foolishness, some wrong teaching, because they are using a fraction of the material that is there, right?
Yes.
So it means then that in order for us to understand this and for a teacher to teach this in good conscience, they would have to give you a full understanding from all of these books and get up, study all of these books, give you a proper timeline, give you the references and all of these things. I will even go one step further and tell you that there is nothing you can find in the book of Revelation that you cannot find in another book that was written before. Nothing you can find in the book of Revelation that was never written in a book before. So while putting this together, I realized that this possibly can turn out into a very heavy teaching. Heavy in terms of our understanding of how things work in the spiritual realm. And so I only ask that we have an open mind and that we look at the facts presented from the books that we are going to read this week, next week, and however long it takes us to come to some semblance of understanding where this is concerned. This might end up being like the calendar, where you look at what you have now and you wait on Yahuwah to reveal more at a later date. How we sound? Can I work with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Seems like I don't have a lot of students tonight, eh? All right. So
Yes.
tonight we are going to be looking at Enoch, and Elijah. Their correct Hebrew names, Chanoch and Eliyahu. Enoch and Elijah. What do we know about Enoch and Elijah, my brothers and sisters? What do you know about Enoch and Elijah?
Enoch was a devoted man to Abaya,
Mm-hmm.
was separated from his family, and was locked away doing Abaya's work.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that he has not died. Yah had taken him up. He didn't face death.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Enoch.
All right. And Nicole says they both were translated. So Nicole come with our big word. So she's one of the highfalutin. She would work well in Church of God that we're coming from. They were translated. And if it's them translated from Hebrew to English, what kind of translation them get? Anyways, I'm just troubling Nicole, but you are correct. That is what they say. They said that Enoch and Elijah were translated. All right. So before we begin, before I go to the next slide and we start reading about these two men, I just want to put a disclaimer out. One, we have absolutely no idea how Yahuwah's kingdom work. And when I say his kingdom, I'm talking about the spiritual kingdom. We have no idea the scope of his domain. We don't know. We just don't understand the spiritual world, brethren. And we have to admit that. If we can't admit it, then we cannot accept this study. We have absolutely no idea how the spiritual world works. We're told a lot of things growing up about Duppy, about this, about that. One time I heard that Satan can't go back to heaven. We hear say this, that, and whatever, and man try to make up story where Genesis 6 says the angels, the sons of Yahuwah, saw the daughters of men, and they went in unto them, and the Nephilim came, and man try to make up all different kind of things. And so the sons of Yahuwah, they were making reference to the descendants of Seth, and the daughters of men, they were the daughters of Cain. I don't know how two human beings coming together would give you Nephilim. So persons aren't willing to accept the spiritual realm and its effect on the physical, and so they will try to make these verses into what they are not, just to suit their preconceived notion. So that's disclaimer number one. We don't know anything. Number two, while going to university, I learned something called confirmation bias. What is confirmation bias? Confirmation bias is I already know something. I already have an idea of how something works. Not that I know it, but I have an idea of how something works. And so whatever else comes along, I ensure that that fits into my idea of how this works. And we often take this approach to the Bible, to the scripture. We believe that this is X. So when we are reading and we see that it says Y, we try to circumvent and we try to dig and we get around and try to make it seem as if it is saying X, because we already have a preconceived notion that it is X. So even when we're reading and we see it's a Y, we are telling ourselves that it is X. Anybody can relate to that? Confirmation bias?
Yes.
Yes.
And we've done that for years where the scriptures are concerned when we were in Christianity. And we're moving away from that now. So every bias we have about how the spiritual realm work and Duppy and if Satan can go back to heaven and all of these things and what happened to a man when he dies, we're going to drop it right now. And we're going to just read and see if we can draw something from what we're reading. And hopefully we carry it over into next week, right? So we're going to begin. Chanoch and Eliyahu. First, we're going to look at Chanoch, Enoch. In the book of Joshua, one of the books that the Catholic Church removed. Because what you find about Enoch, Genesis only tells us very briefly that Enoch pleased Elohim, Enoch walked with Elohim, and Elohim took him, and he was not. Argument done. It didn't say him die. It didn't say where he took him. It just said that he walked with Elohim. Elohim took him, and he was not. What does he was not mean? I do not know. Then we get to the New Testament, and the New Testament says, the scripture tells us that Enoch walked with Elohim. Enoch pleased Elohim, and he was translated so as not to see death. That is not what Genesis said. So clearly that writer was reading another book. Now, so
Correct.
All right. So let us look at some books that tell us about this man here. Enoch. Joshua chapter 3, verse 1. And Chanoch lived 65 years and begot Methuselah, and Chanoch walked with Elohim after having begot Methuselah, and he served Yahuwah and despised the evil ways of men. And the soul of Chanoch was wrapped up in the instruction of Yahuwah, in knowledge and in understanding. Watch this now. And he wisely retired from the sons of men and secreted himself from them for many days. So he went into isolation. And when you say many days, we're talking about years. Verse 5. And Chanoch rose up according to the word of Yahuwah, because Yahuwah came to him, said to him, listen, you can't stay here saying hiding forever, because the reason why I have you here is to teach you so that you can in turn go back and teach them. We know what this man's name means. Chanoch means dedicated, it means teaching. And we see it play out in his life. So Yahuwah tell him, listen, go back now and go teach. So he rose up according to the word of Yahuwah and went from his house, from his place, and from the chamber in which he was concealed, and he went to the sons of men. So him go back to civilization. And he taught them the ways of Yahuwah, and at that time he assembled all the sons of men and acquainted them with the instruction of Yahuwah. So Chanoch was a king in his day. And we saw Jubilee said that there were 22 heads of mankind between Adam and Jacob. And when it says heads of mankind, it means that these men were king. Genesis don't give us this information. Verse 17. It was in the year of Adam's death, which was the 243rd year of the reign. So you see, it's a reign of Chanoch, so he was a king. In that time, Chanoch resolved to separate himself from the sons of men and to secret himself. So he wanted to go in isolation again, take away himself, as at first in order to serve Yahuwah. Verse 18, and Chanoch did so, but did not entirely secret himself as at the first time. But this time, he stayed for 3 days and then went to them for 1 day. So 3 days in isolation, 1 day with the sons of men, because in my position now he's king. So I have to make sure I'm there governing him kingdom. Anyways, verse 23. In some time after that, when the kings and princes and the sons of men were speaking to Chanoch, Chanoch was teaching them the ways of Elohim. Behold, an angel of Yahuwah then called unto Chanoch from heaven and wished to bring him up to heaven to make him king there over the sons of Elohim, as he had reigned over the sons of men upon earth. Stick a pin. So according to this book here, the purpose of taking up Chanoch to heaven is to give him rulership over the sons of Elohim. Based on our knowledge, based on things that I would have taught you in the past, based on Genesis 6, who are the sons of Elohim?
Angels.
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 Angels are the sons of Elohim. This is why we have to keep on teaching these things over and over again, as we forget. The angels are the sons of Elohim. We see it in Job, and we see it in Genesis. At the time when the sons of men came to present themselves to Elohim, Satan came amongst them. The sons of Elohim are the angels. So the purpose of bringing Chanoch up to heaven is to make him king over the angels, to make him rule over the angels. Remember me tell you, we're putting away all the biases we had, all the preconceived notions. We're just taking it for what it is. That's what the book says.
So, may I ask a question? So, when the watchers, the fallen ones, when they consulted Chanoch, requested him to go petition on their behalf. That means he held that position, and that's the reason for them to ask
Very
him
good
to.
reasoning. So your brain is clicking, and that we get that from another book.
Okay.
So you see that you have to have all of the books to get a full picture, right?
Yeah.
Very good. Verse 27 now. And at that time, the sons of men were with Chanoch, and Chanoch was speaking to them, and they lifted up their eyes, and the likeness of a great horse descended from heaven, and the horse paced in the air. So the horse was running in the air. And they told Chanoch what they had seen, and Chanoch said to them, on my account does this horse descend upon earth. The time is come when I must go from you, and I shall no more be seen by you. Continues, and it was after this that he rose up and rode upon the horse, and he went forth, and all the sons of men went after him, about 800,000 men, and they went with him 1 day's journey. So the horse is running on the ground this time, and them are run behind the horse, and so we're not leaving him. And when the kings returned, because eventually the horse went up. So when the kings returned, they caused a census to be taken in order to know the number of remaining men that went with Chanoch, because it's not everybody went back. And it was upon the 7th day that Chanoch ascended into heaven in a whirlwind. Genesis doesn't give us this information, brethren. Genesis there. Elohim took him, and he was not. Now we're seeing that he went up by a whirlwind and horses into heaven. And it's with horses and chariots of fire. This should sound very familiar for those who know the story of Elijah. Anyways, we're going to get there. And all those kings went to the place, and they found the earth there filled with snow. And upon the snow were large stones of snow. And one said to the other, come, let us break through the snow and see perhaps the men that remained with Chanoch are dead, and are now under the stones of snow. And they searched, but could not find him, for he had ascended into heaven. So Joshua gives us a pretty detailed account of Chanoch's translation, so to speak, for lack of a better word. His translation, his ascent into heaven. We see the whirlwind with chariots of fire, and we even got the purpose why he was brought there. So it's not that him go there. You know, people say they want to go to heaven and rest. I'm tired of staying down here, tired of the troubles and trials. And if Chanoch, being such a righteous man, went, and he's there working, I don't see who we are to go there and drink milk and honey. Anyways, Joshua chapter 4. So I'm going to show you something now. So even though he went to heaven, we have to understand that it doesn't mean that he's completely locked off from us. Watch chapter 4 now. When Chanoch had ascended into heaven, all the kings of the earth rose up. They took Methuselah his son, and they anointed him as king in his father's place. Verse 4. But in the latter days of Methuselah, so this is long after Enoch gone about in business. Translated, he's now in heaven doing his work. In the latter days of his son now, Methuselah, the sons of men turned from Yahuwah. They corrupted the earth. They robbed, they plundered each other. They rebelled against Elohim. They transgressed, they corrupted their ways. They would not listen to the voice of Methuselah, and they rebelled against him. In those days, in verse 9, Lamech now, the son of Methuselah, was 160 years old, and Shet, the son of Adam, died. So Seth died now. Adam died, and Seth died. Lamech, 165, Lamech's woman conceived. She bore a son at the revolution of the year, and Methuselah called Lamech's son's name Noah. So this is the birth of Noah. Remember, Enoch is already in heaven, already has been translated. So we're seeing that Noah, the reason why I read this, we're seeing now that Noah born after Enoch's translation. It's very important that we note that. Noah was born after Enoch's translation. Now we're going to the man himself, the book of Enoch. Enoch 1, verse 1. The word of the blessing of Chanoch, how he blessed the elect and the righteous who were to exist in the time of trouble, rejecting all the unrighteous and wicked. Chanoch, a righteous man, who with Elohim answered and spoke, while his eyes were open, and he saw a holy vision in the heavens. This the angels showed me. From them I heard all things, and understood what I saw. That which will not take place in this generation, but in a generation which is to succeed at a distant period, on account of the elect. So in other words, Enoch is another revelation, because what he saw was end time events. Upon their account I spoke and conversed with him, who will go forth from his habitation, the holy and mighty one, the Elohim of the world. So some persons see this and they say, okay, so he saw a vision. So he wasn't really there. It's possible that this in chapter 1 took place when he was in isolation. So remember, he isolated himself from men first. So it's possible that this took place in isolation. Anyways, chapter 12. Before all these things, Chanoch was concealed. See, sir? Before all these things, Chanoch was concealed, nor did any one of the sons of men knew where he was concealed. They didn't know where he had been, and they didn't know what had happened. He was wholly engaged with the holy ones and with the watchers in his days. Who are the watchers?
Angels.
The
Angels. Fallen angels, bad angels who were kicked out of heaven. And the holy ones are the good angels. So according to the book of Enoch, Enoch was wholly engaged. So it doesn't tell us like the book of Joshua that he was ruling over them, but it tells us that he was wholly engaged with the angels. So the books seem to be corroborating each other, right? Two completely different books seem to be corroborating each other. Enoch 37:1. The vision which he saw, the second vision of wisdom which Chanoch saw, the son of Yered, the son of Mahalalel, the son of Canaan, the son of Enosh, the son of Shet, the son of Adam. This is the commencement of the words. I keep on showing you this because persons will draw for these verses and say that Enoch only saw visions. He was not necessarily taken to heaven, because you have some denominations and some churches and some beliefs who they use John 3 verse 13, where Yahusha says, no man hath ascended into heaven except the Son of Man who came from heaven. So they say that based on that principle, no man went to heaven. And so they're trying to find reasons as to why Enoch could not have gone to heaven and Elisha could not have gone to heaven. So I'm showing you these verses and not hiding anything from it, as we're going to come to a conclusion when everything is said and done. So I'm giving you all the information, because I don't know everything either. I'm just showing you all of the information. So he said that he saw a vision here. Chapter 65. In those days, Noah saw that the earth, watch this now, because remember Noah, according to Joshua, Noah born after Enoch was translated. So Noah saw that the earth became inclined and that destruction approached. Then he lifted up his feet and went to the ends of the earth, to the dwelling of his great grandfather, Chanoch. So Noah got to the end of the earth, where his grandfather Chanoch was dwelling. 59 verse 1. We don't know what the end of the earth is, because based on what I would have taught you, the earth is flat. The firmament is a dome around the flat earth. And so the end of the earth could also be considered heaven, because heaven is anywhere outside of the dome. Well, not outside of the dome, but really, once you're in the air is considered heaven, but you have levels to heaven. So outside of the dome would be another level to heaven. I will see that in the book of Chanoch. I didn't put it in the presentation, but it tells you that he kept ascending. So I ascended to the first heaven, to the second, to the third, and I think he went all the way up to the 10th or the 12th heaven. So that's why I said to us that we do not have any idea of the realm of the spiritual domain. We don't have a slight clue. Anyways, chapter 59, verse 1, him come again with the vision and parable business. In the 500th year, and in the 7th month of the 14th day of the month of the lifetime of Chanoch, in that parable, I saw that the heaven of heavens, and if you have a heaven of heavens, then it means that there are multiple heavens, and you have a big one, or a top one, or a higher one, where the Creator himself sits. That's all.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just as how you have the Holy of Holies in the temple, we know that the temple was fashioned off a picture in heaven. Everything that was designed on earth for the priest was a mirror of what is in heaven, right? So if you have a holy of holies and you have a heaven of heavens, then it means that there are more than one heaven. And we find this also in the regular 66 canon. So for those who don't believe this book, heaven of heavens is in the 66 canon. And we hear Paul talk about the third heaven and the this and the that. So we know that there are more than one heaven. So I saw that the heaven of heaven shook. It shook violently, and that the powers of the Most High, El Elyon, and the angels, the thousands and thousands and myriads of myriads, were agitated with great agitation. And when I looked, the Ancient of Days was sitting on the throne of his glory, while the angels and the Kodeshim were standing around him. A great trembling came upon me, and terror seized me, and my loins were bowed down and loosened. This is what I was telling you, Steph, that when our prophets, they see angels and they see Yahuwah himself, they lose all power in their limb because it's not a normal sight. When you see them in their actual form, it's not a normal sight. So this is him basically saying that, listen, me drop down. This is ancient speech for me drop down. He said, my mind was dissolved. So all him head start hurting. My mind was dissolved, like me frost out. And I fell upon my face. The holy Michael, another holy angel, one of the holy ones, was sent, who raised me up. So Michael licked him and said, get up, man. Stand up. Chapter 85, verse 1. After this, I saw another dream. And I explained it all to you, my son. And Chanoch arose and said to his son Methuselah, to you, my son, will I speak. Hear my word. Incline your ear to the visionary dream of your father. Before I married your mother, Edna, I saw a vision on my bed. So he keep talking about vision, 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 vision. Chapter 105, watch this now. After a time, my son Methuselah took a woman for his son Lamech. After a time, she became pregnant by him. This is Enoch speaking. So Enoch said, my son Methuselah took a wife for his son Lamech, which would be Enoch's grandson. She became pregnant. So whatever son this lady is going to have is Enoch's great-grandson, which we know is Noah. Anyways, she brought forth a child, and the flesh of which skin was white as snow. So the first white man this. And red as a rose. The hair of whose head was white like wool and long, and whose eyes were beautiful. When he opened them, he illuminated all the house like the sun. The whole house was abounded with light. And by the way, this is not the only book that gives this account of Noah's birth. Trust me. You have about 7 books that give the same account. He was white, all of this, and the room bright up when he born, and the excitement, and his father was afraid. His father said, a jacket. Anyways. And when he was taken from the hand of the midwife.
May I ask a question? May I ask a question, please?
Uh-huh.
When the word said Noah, when Moshe went up in the mountain and when he came back from the mountain, they said that his face was white. Was it white, or was it a description as to say how it looked?
I don't recall the Torah said that Moses' face was white. I think he said that his face shone. I don't recall it saying that his face was white. But in this instance, it says white as snow. And when the scripture says white as snow, it is making reference to the color white. So,
okay,
I don't know.
okay.
And CC as red as a rose. So it gives you a comparison. So it's not like you're left to figure it out. And the hair of whose head was white like wool and long. So as I was saying, many books give this account of Noah's birth. So verse 3, and when he was taken from the hand of the midwife, Lamech his father became afraid of him, and flying away came to his own father Methuselah. So Lamech run from the picnic. He said, I can't my picnic this because he looks nothing like me. And he said to his father Methuselah, I have gotten a son unlike others. He is not of men, but resembling the offspring of the angels of heaven. He is of a different nature, being altogether unlike to us. Same not look like it. Verse 6, and now, my father, let me entreat and request of you to go to our progenitor Chanoch and learn from him the truth, for his residence is with the angels. So at the time of Noah's birth, Enoch himself is telling you that he was residing with angels when Noah was born. Methuselah heard the word of his sons, and he came to me at the extremities of the earth. So you have to go to the end of the earth to access Enoch, which part him there, another part of heaven that were him there. Don't ask me how it works. We are all learning at the same time. So he went to the extremities of the earth, for he had been informed that I was there. And when you read the story yourself, him call out, and him call and him call, and him say him just see him appear. Him never see where him come from, him just see him appear, and him touch him, and him say, oh, wow. And then him tell him, and then Enoch tell him, say, listen, the boy is a special boy. He's going to save, he's going to be the reason why humanity continues, and tell him everything you need to know, and him go back and them normal out, and Noah was raised properly. And Noah would have had his own interactions with Enoch. So when you read these books, you get the understanding that even though he was translated and even though he started to reside with the angels, he frequently would have had conversations with his descendants to ensure that everything was corpusate in Jamaican language. Everything was in proper order. So we're not seeing where he went up and that was the end of it. Everybody following? So there was still interaction with men. Always stay so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Good.
All right, Elijah. I don't want to give you too much, so I just letting you be familiar with these men tonight. Next week, we're going to dive into some books and see if we can draw something. You'd be so surprised the amount of books we talk about these men, Bridget. Anyways, let us get into it. Elijah. So we see how Enoch was translated. We see that he still had access to men. He was still very much, active and participating in the affairs of mankind, even though we saw him with a different role in heaven. Is either we're going to believe it or we're not going to believe it, but it is there in the book. And we know that for us here at this assembly, we believe that this book is inspired. These books are inspired. So it's either we're going to believe it or we're not. Anyways, I am more inclined to believe this than, and I'm not saying that John 3 verse 13 is wrong. I'm not saying that John 3 verse 13 is wrong. I am just saying I am more inclined to believe this than to believe the John 3 verse 30, because we know the road that the New Testament walked. But all things can be reconciled. Anyways, 2 Kings 2. That's where we find Elijah now. So not much backstory. We just know that he's a prophet. We won't go too far back in his history. We just go and pick up right where the event is going to take place. So 2 Kings 2 verse 1. And it came to be when Yahuwah was to take up Eliyahu, Elijah, to the heavens by a what? Whirlwind. Same thing like our brethren there, Chanoch. That Eliyahu went with Elisha from Gilgal. So for those of you who don't know, write it in your book. Elisha was the understudy of Elijah. So Elisha or Elishua was the understudy, was the disciple, was the student, was the apprentice of Eliyahu or Elijah. Two different persons, but they lived in the same time. One learned from the other. One is the master, one is the student.
Repeat
all right.
that.
Elijah, Eliyahu, Jah, J-A-H, as they pronounce it in the English, which we know is incorrect, but just for you to know, Elijah is the master. Elishua is the student. Teacher, Elijah. Student, Elisha. They lived in the same era. One learned from the other. And you're going to see it now. So he went with Elisha from Gilgal. And Eliyahu said, Elijah said to Elisha, it's best when you use the Eliyahu, because the Elijah and the Elisha sound very similar. So we just want to use the correct names. So Eliyahu said to Elisha, please remain here, for Yahuwah has sent me on to Bethel. And Elisha said, as Yahuwah lives, and as your soul lives, I do not leave you. And so they went down to Bethel. So what you're going to realize is that Eliyahu is trying to get rid of Elisha. He's trying to let him stay because he knows that, listen, my time is coming. And this virgin here, he's attached to me and he's going to take it very hard. So he's trying to let him stay back so I can go and do some business and so I can leave. But the man said, listen, God broke me neck under green tree, man. Anyway you go, man, dead with my father, so to speak. As Yahuwah lives and as your soul lives, I do not leave you. Anyway, so him say, all right, come, we are going down to Bethel. And the sons of the prophets who were at Bethel came out to Elisha and said to him, you know, here say, Yahuwah is going to take away your master from your head. And Elisha said, I know, be silent. So Elisha said, don't chat too much, man. Me know. Me know already, you don't chat too much. So it's like a taunt that them say, everybody has say the same thing to me. Me know, me know. You know, you have to tell me, me know. Anyways, Eliyahu said to him again, please remain here, for Yahuwah has sent me on to Jericho. And he said, listen, man, as Yahuwah lives, man, and as your soul lives, I do not leave you. And so they went to Jericho. And the sons of the prophet who were at Jericho came to Elisha and said to him again, you never hear say Yahuwah is going to take away your master. And the man said, listen, man, me know already, man, I'm not chat too much. Verse 6, Eliyahu said to him, please remain here, for Yahuwah has sent me to Jordan. And the man said, listen, man, me not leave you, man. So they went to Jordan. Now 50 men of the sons of the prophets went and stood facing them at a distance, with the two of them, while the two of them stood by the Jordan. And Eliyahu took his mantle. A mantle is a coat that goes around your clothes. And he rolled it up. So, you know, him go cross river, so him draw up him skirt, draw up him frock. And he struck the water. And it was divided this way and that, so that the two of them passed over. So you can write this in your book as well. The men who, what you call it now, divide water in the Bible, Marsha, Yahusha, which is Joshua as they tell us. So Marsha part the Red Sea, write Red Sea. Joshua part the Jordan. Yahusha parted the Jordan River for Israel to cross. Eliyahu parted the Jordan as well. And Elisha parted the Jordan when he was going to come back across again. So those four men. Write it down in your book. You never know, it probably come by your end of your exam at the feast. So write them down.
Repeat.
You want to repeat now? It's the thing is being recorded. So go watch it back. Moses part the Red Sea. Joshua part the Jordan. Elijah and Elisha part the Jordan. So Eliyahu took his mantle, rolled it up, struck the water was divided, so that the two of them passed over on dry ground. And it came to be when they had passed over that Eliyahu said to Elisha, ask, what am I to do for you before I am taken away from you? And Elisha said, please let a double portion of your spirit be upon me. So whenever you hear about somebody asking for double portion of spirit, it was Elisha asking his master or his teacher, Eliyahu, Elijah, for a double portion of his spirit. So whatever you were able to do in your lifetime, I want to be able to do double. And he said, you have made it hard to ask. Yet, if you see me when I am taken up from you, it is yours. But if not, it is not. Very simple. And it came to be as they continued on and spoke, that see a chariot of fire with horses of fire. Sound familiar?
Yes.
And this is scripture that everybody here on this platform agrees is authoritative and should be in the canon. A chariot of fire with horses of fire, which separated the two of them. And Eliyahu went up by a whirlwind into the heavens. Tell me if this is not the exact same thing that happened with Chanoch, Bridget.
Yeah.
And without the books, you would not have known that it's the same thing Chanoch go through, because Genesis only tells us that he walked with Elohim and he was not, because Elohim took him. And Elisha saw it and he cried out, my father, the chariot of Yisrael and his horsemen. So he saw it and he saw him no more. Then he took hold of his garment, tore them in two pieces, and he took up the mantle of Eliyahu that had fallen from him. So all the mantle dropped, and Elisha took it up and said, all right, I might close this now. And went back and stood by the bank of the Jordan. And he took the mantle of Eliyahu that had fallen from him, and he struck the water and said, where is Yahuwah, Elohim of Eliyahu? And he struck the water, and it was divided this way and that. And Elisha passed over. So I'm going to show you that mankind don't have any idea what takes place in the heavenly realm. This is the understanding of the people at the time. Remember, they are the same ones who were taunting this man, telling him that, listen, here say Yahuwah is going to take away your master. And the man said, shut up, me know already. I'm chat too much. And look what they are going to do now that the man was taken. When the sons of the prophets who were from Jericho saw him, Elisha, they said, the spirit of Eliyahu rests on Elisha because them seen part of the water, so them said, backside, this man get Elijah power, And they came to meet him and bowed to the ground before him. And they said to him, look, there are 50 strong men with your servants. Please let them go and search for your master. In case or in the event that the spirit of Yahuwah has taken him up and cast him up on some mountain or into some valley. So they say, maybe in drop off by chariot. And him up, they broke up and away for somebody to come find him. So them say, send go search for him. So persons did not understand what this taking away was. So this is not new to you. It's not new to me. It's not new to Christianity. It's not new to the pastors who are preaching madness, telling people. This was a long time thing, brethren. Mankind do not understand the transactions of heaven. They do not understand the transactions of the spiritual realm. We have no idea the amount of angels that walk the face of this earth. We don't know when they go up. We don't know when they come down. We don't know when they are sent to come and deliver us. We don't know nothing at all. And it's not new. It has been that way. Elisha tell them, don't go expel no sense, because he knew that, listen, the man is gone. So him tell them, say, don't go. And then press him, and him say, all right, no go on. And they return, and them say to him, say, we don't find nobody. And him say, yeah, but me tell them, say, don't go. But I'm going to show you something similar with Eliyahu as with Chanoch. So now he has been translated, and we saw that in 2 Kings 2. Let me show you something now. You see, in 2 Kings 1, I'm going to show you the king that was reigning at the time that this transpired. So it says in 2 Kings 1 verse 17, and he died according to the word of Yahuwah, which Eliyahu had spoken. So Elijah prophesied that the same man who was taken away. He prophesied to this particular king, warned him, and he died according to the word of Eliyahu. And Jehoram reigned in his place. So this king took over, Jehoram, some translation said. In the 2nd year of Jehoram, son of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, for he had no son. So Jehoram began to reign as king. So that was the king who was reigning at the time when Elijah was taken away into heaven. 2 Kings 3 now verse 1. Remember, we saw the story of Elijah being taken away in 2 Kings 2. In 2 Kings 3 now, after he was taken away, it says that Jehoram, son of Ahab, began to reign over Israel at Samaria in the 18th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and he reigned for 12 years. So 12 years passed now, brethren. When you jump to 2 Chronicles 21 now, it says that Jehoshaphat died now, slept with his fathers, and was buried with his fathers in the city of David, and Jehoram, his son, reigned in his place. And a letter came to him. This is a different Jehoram doing, but you have to pay attention because Jehoshaphat is mentioned here, and Jehoshaphat was reigning in his 18th year when Elijah was taken up. Now Jehoshaphat dead, and this Jehoram took over in Judah. This Jehoram up here is reigning in Israel. So Jehoshaphat dead now, so it means that some time has passed since Elijah was taken up, and a letter came to him from Eliyahu the prophet, saying, thus said Yahuwah, Elohim of your father, because you have not walked in the ways of Jehoshaphat your father, or in the ways of Asa, king of Yehuda, whatever is going to happen. So clearly, after his translation, he was very much involved in the transactions of mankind. And this is well documented. When you do the chronology, it is said that this letter was sent 12 years after his translation. When they did the chronology based on which king was reigning and who died and who took over and all of these things, when they did the breakdown, it was 12 years after, some 12 years that Elijah would have sent this letter. So clearly, this man, like Enoch, was still communicating with mankind, even though he was taken up into heaven. How it sound so far? Everybody following? Are you confused?
Following.
Following, you know, following.
So in the event that you don't believe me, that these men were actually taken into heaven, because I was one of them who taught and preached many years ago when we were in Church of God, that they were taken to another location. And we use these very same verses too. The fact that Enoch wrote a letter 12 years later to say that he was actually on earth, because you want to confirm what you already think you know. We call that confirmation bias. I'm not scared to admit that. So I have done that in the past. Now I am coming to realize that we really never know none. And that was just Christianity and them foolishness that we were trying to make sense of all of this. But in the event that you don't believe me, that these men were taken into heaven and they have a role to play, I'm going to show you further proof. We are going to go further down the rabbit hole. It gets more interesting, brethren. So watch this. In the book of Malachi, do we all believe that Malachi is a prophet of Yahuwah, an authentic prophet, and the book is authoritative and should be in the 66 canon? Everybody's in agreement where that is concerned?
It is in the 66 canon.
I know that it is there. I'm asking if you agree that it should be there.
Yes, man.
Okay. So I'm going to show you something. Watch this. I want to show you because I don't want to tell you things and you feel like I make it up. Show you something. You see what I type? How many years were there between Elijah and Malachi? There was approximately a 400-year gap between the final prophet of the Old Testament, Malachi, and the prophetic ministry of Elijah. Elijah prophesied before even the Babylonian captivity. Elijah prophesied while Israel was doing well. Kingdom split, and they were doing well. Babylon no come out yet to carry them off into captivity. And Malachi prophesied under Persia. Remember, you have Babylon, then there was Media Persia. So there was the Assyrian and Babylonian captivity, Babylon and Assyria, and then we have the Media Persia. So you see how much kingdom come about between them. Babylon was not an issue in Elijah's time. I don't say that they didn't exist, but they were not an issue for Israel in Elijah's time. Then you had Babylon, you had Assyria, and you had Assyria first, you had Babylon, and then you had Media Persia. 3 kingdoms between, 400 years between. This is what the prophet Malachi says. Watch this. For look, the day shall come. What do I tell you about when you're reading prophecy and you see it says the day or the day of Yahuwah? What do I tell you? What did I tell you?
1,000 year.
1,000 years. Thank you very much, sir. Zechariah 14 tells us, Revelation tells us 1,000 years. The 1,000 year that is prophesied, it is also the day of Yahuwah. So I don't know how Church of God, the churches of God, are teaching people about the day of Yahuwah using only the book of Revelation, when all the prophets speak of the day of Yahuwah. Anyways, we're not going to rant on that. So Malachi is giving us an end time prophecy here, because he said, for look, the day shall come, burning like a furnace, and all the proud and every wrongdoer shall be stubble. And the day that shall come shall burn them up, said Yahuwah of hosts, which leaves to them neither root nor branch. But to you who fear my name, the Son of Righteousness shall arise with healing in his wings. And you shall go out and leap for joy like calves from the stall. Verse 5. This is Yahuwah speaking, brethren. Yahuwah says, look, see, I am sending you, Elijah, the prophet, before the coming of the great and awesome day of Yahuwah. And he shall turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers, lest I come and strike the earth with utter destruction. So you tell me now. 400 years later, 400 years after Elijah lived, Malachi prophesying, and Yahweh says through the prophet Malachi, in the last days, before my great day, I am going to send Elijah, the prophet. And what is his purpose? He will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers, lest I come and strike the earth with utter destruction. So do you believe, Church of God, when they tell you that Elijah must have died, he was translated somewhere else on earth, and Yahweh kept him at a particular place like Moses? You know, it said that Moses went up and he died, and yet nobody know where he was buried because Yahweh would have buried him himself. So these are the arguments that the churches of God tells people. Now they don't take it to Malachi 4, and we don't have the diligence to type in Elijah's name and to see every single reference in the Bible for Elijah to see that he was mentioned by the prophet Malachi, who prophesied 400 years after he would have lived. And a prophecy saying that he would come before the day of Yahuwah. This is very serious, you know, Virgin. I don't know if you understand that. I don't know if you're grasping the weight of this. I don't know. You don't understand what is happening here?
Yeah, you know, so I'm there try to wrap my head around it still, you know.
And that should be happening. You should be trying to wrap your head around it because this is a different ball game now. I don't know if it changes anything for anybody, but it changed everything for me. This is a completely different ball game. So when you talk to me, tell me on the head there.
Question. Do we have another one like this that say you will send Chanoch the same way? Or just
I say what?
You will send Chanoch.
We are going to see next week.
Right.
But even if we don't find something that say he's going to send Chanoch, we see something say I'm going to send Elijah. One no, you know?
Well, more
I know why you ask, you know. Because you're bright. And you know some teachings that are out there. And you can share with the class, you know, have a beat around the bush.
No, well, we did have the same view that Elijah was picked up in the chariot and dropped somewhere else, you know, and because that was the view that I got, and I did buy that view very wonderfully because of that letter. But this may kind of throw me off guard.
And it shouldn't, you know. Yes, when you look at because when I was reading and I came across it, I wrap back in my chair at work and I say, this shouldn't be surprising because things start coming back to me. And I remember Samuel. Remember, Samuel died. Saul wanted to hear from Yahuwah, and Samuel was his prophet. And so Saul went to the witch of Endor for her to raise up Samuel, and she indeed raised up Samuel. And Samuel asked him, says, not like it's a demon she raised up who was pretending to be Samuel. Listen, Virgin, it's either we're going to believe the Bible or we're not going to believe it. You cannot want the Bible to confirm the madness that you were taught by unlearned people. The Bible is a book of light. Well, the scripture is a book of light. It's supposed to give you understanding. It's not supposed to confirm the foolishness what people tell you. And so if it is that this witch could have raised Samuel, we say raised because we don't understand, but he never said that she raised him. So she called forth Samuel, and Samuel came. We say raised because we feel like saying come up from the ground because he's dead. We see him dead and him bury him, go down into the ground. So we say raised. It never say raised. That is our understanding. So we read into the text. But if he could have called forth Samuel, then it means, as I'm saying, we don't understand how the spiritual realm works, Bridget. Can we at least agree to that?
Agree.
That's true.
And this is why I keep telling you, you need to go and read the book for Ezra. Because I don't know when we are going to get time to go through it together. So persons have to just go and read the book themselves. I told you that all of these questions that we have, Ezra asked Yahuwah and Yahuwah answered him. Ezra asked what happened to people when them dead. what happens to the spirit when a person dies, and Yahuwah answered him. Ezra asked all of these questions and he got his answer. And now when I'm reading and I'm putting all of these things together, it makes perfect sense to me. It not as cut as dry as we say, a man dead, him dead, and we say, what and this and that and all of these foolish. It don't work like that, brethren. We have no idea how this thing works. Anyways, so clearly we're seeing here Malachi says that Elijah will be sent. Yahuwah says through Malachi that Elijah will be sent in the last days. John 3:13 is what the church is used when Yahusha said, no one has gone up into the heaven except he who came down from heaven, the son of Adam.
Somebody come out, somebody gone.
So as I said, I'm going to show you enough scriptures, enough historical references as well, to show you that this is not a hurry come up thing. This has actually been a school of thought for centuries and for millennia as it relates to this thing here. And so I am not prepared to use John 3 verse 13 to wipe out another 50 scripture that's saying otherwise. It is more likely that this is a mistranslated scripture, and we're going to have to look at it deeper than the others all being incorrect. And that is my opinion. You have something to say, Raleigh?
Yeah, question. The translated meaning that they were changed from the physical body to the spiritual.
You're right. Oh, okay.
So the part where it says that Eliyahu will be will be coming before the great day, right? He's going to come back as spiritual.
Well, let us continue the study now.
All right.
You're asking good questions still. But
right.
I'm not the teacher to answer without knowledge. So we continue to study and we see.
All right.
That's why I said to ask a question so Yahuwah can know that the questions are out there and he will provide the answers. I am just presenting the facts and we come to a conclusion together as usual. We're all learning here. So as I said, I'm not prepared to use John 3 verse 13 to wipe out the other scriptures. I don't know where you stand. Everybody can chime in where that is concerned because I am not the end all be all of this thing here. So are we in agreement where that is concerned, that it is more likely that this is mistranslated or misunderstood than all the others being wrong, than Malachi himself being wrong?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes.
All right, so we're going to end with this. Well, not necessarily this, but on this thing here. So Revelation 11 gives us a particularly cryptic introduction to two individuals, and it sparks a lot of controversy in, what you call it now, if there's such a thing as Bibliodom, the kingdom of Bible. Anyways, Revelation 11 verse 1, and I read like a measuring rod was given to me, and the messenger, when you see messenger, it's angel. The messenger stood saying, rise and measure the dwelling place of Elohim and the slaughter place and those worshipping in it. But cast out the court which is outside the dwelling place and do not measure it, for it has been given to the nations, and they shall trample the set apart city underfoot for 42 months. And I shall give unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clad in sackcloth. So Yahuwah tells us that he has 2 witnesses, and they are going to come. And we know that Revelation is talking about last days, right? End time. That's how it go. They must leave.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't read, sir.
So if Revelation is talking about end time, then the two witnesses are going to come when?
End time, before the end
End
time.
time.
Near the end time.
Thank you. End time or near end time. So give them to my two witnesses, and they are going to prophesy for 1,260 days, and they are going to be dressed in sackcloth. When Israelites are dressed in sackcloth, when the Hebrews are dressed in sackcloth, what purpose is it?
What a word, man. Father help. Like, so for instance, you are frustrated, then you are asking for deliverance or healing or whatever. But in that sense.
So fasting, mourning, all of those type of things.
Yeah, fast,
You're bringing yourself to a low state. And warning and all of these things. You know, some destruction is upon the land. That is why you're in sackcloth. These are the two olive trees. Pay attention now. And the two lampstands that are standing before the Elohim of the earth. Where are they? No, presently. So the witnesses are the two olive trees and the two lampstands. And where are they? They are standing before the Elohim of the earth. Who is the Elohim of the earth?
Yahuwah.
Yahuwah is the Elohim of the earth. Where is Yahuwah?
In the heaven.
End of the earth.
In heaven. How many people will see being taken up by fire and being taken into heaven?
Two.
It's just
Huh?
Two.
Thus far.
All right. So we get a good question in the chat. I will respond to that very soon. Very good question, Micah. I'll answer you very soon. Verse 5. And if anyone wishes to harm them, fire comes from out from their mouth and consumes their enemies. And if anyone wishes to harm them, he has to be killed in that way. The fire coming from the mouth could be allegorical for the word itself, the word of Yahuwah coming from their mouth. Anyways, these witnesses possess authority to shut the heaven so that no rain falls in the days, and people use this and say, must be Elijah, because when people want rain, people call who to come pray back in the day. Who pray back in the day and stop rain and pray and make rain fall back? Thank you, man. So that no rain falls in the days of their prophecy, and they possess authority over waters to turn them to blood. This one make people say Moses, and to smite the earth with all plagues as often as they wish. So you hear some whole heap of things, brethren. Anyways, and when they have ended their witness, the beast coming up out of the pit of the deep shall fight against them and overcome them and kill them. So the witnesses are going to be killed. Somebody said, and I don't think it's a faulty argument, but I'm not quick to run with it because I have to look at it deeper, but I'll mention it here. I heard somebody said that the fact that the witnesses are killed means that they were never killed before, because the Bible said that it is appointed unto man how many times to die? Once to die. So them say, whosoever these witnesses are, they did not die before. So when them come, them are dead that time. Yes, I don't know, but it's not a bad argument, but we have to look further into it. We don't jump on things so quickly. Anyways, and their dead bodies lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt. So the great city where they are going to be killed is the same place where also the Messiah, our master, was impaled, was crucified. Where was Yahusha crucified, brethren?
Jerusalem.
Yahusha was crucified in Jerusalem. And so Jerusalem is known spiritually as Sodom, as Egypt, and you would have learned a couple of weeks ago that Jerusalem is also Mystery Babylon. This is not a joke thing, brethren. It's a serious learning. We don't play in this place. Anyways, verse 10, and those dwelling on the earth are going to rejoice over their death and they shall send gifts to each other, because these two prophets, so the witnesses are known as what? Prophets.
Prophets.
They tortured those dwelling on the earth. Where Revelation get this thing here from about witness? I tell you that there's nothing in Revelation that you can't find written in other books. Zechariah spoke about them. The prophet Zechariah chapter 4, verse 1. The angel, the messenger who was speaking to me, so on the same way how Revelation 11 started, don't? See, a reel was given to me, and the messenger stood, saying, rise and measure. Same way Zechariah started. The messenger who was speaking to me came back and woke me up as a man is awakened from sleep. And he said to me, what do you see? So I said, I have looked, and I see a lampstand. Sound familiar?
Yes.
Same lampstand we saw in Revelation 11. The lampstand is all of gold with a bowl on top of it. And understand the 7 lamps with 7 spokes to the 7 lamps. And I saw 2 olive trees. 2 olive trees are by the lampstand, one at the right of the bowl and the other at its left. Verse 10, we jump to verse 10. For who has despised the day of small beginnings? They shall rejoice when they see the plumb line in the hand of Zerubbabel. Plumb line sound like some measuring a guan, just like we saw in Revelation 11, brethren. So as I told you, there is nothing in Revelation that is not in a book that was written before. These 7 are the eyes of Yahuwah, which diligently search throughout all the earth. So they are explaining to him now the lampstand with the 7 business on it and the 7 spokes and all of these things. So the 7 are the eyes of Yahuwah, which diligently search through all the earth. And I responded a second time, and I said to him, because I asked him already in verse 11, what are these 2 olive branches? And him not answer me. So I ask him again, because of them I want to know about. What are these 2 olive branches which empty golden oil from themselves by means of 2 gold pipes? And he answered me and said, do you not know what these are? And I said, no, my master. And he said, these are the 2 messiahs, Mashiach, anointed ones. These are the 2 anointed ones who stand beside the master of all the earth. Now, the same thing I just read in Revelation 11 a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, let me prick your mind as I leave it there for the night. It is believed that Chanoch and Elijah, Enoch and Elijah, are the 2 witnesses of Revelation, are the 2 witnesses of Zechariah 4. And a lot of reasons are given for this belief. We shall explore further to see if it holds any water. We don't shun it. We don't accept it. We will explore further, as I said, to see if it holds any water. Now to Michael's question quickly. Let me read it. How does this Elijah belief match with Luke 13 to 17, referring to John coming in the spirit of Eliyahu? So let us go to Luke 13. Luke 1. Very good question. This is a man who is thinking. But the messenger said to him, do not be afraid. Let me zoom it up so you can see. Do not be afraid, Zechariah, for your prayer is heard, and your wife Elizabeth, shall bear you a son, and you shall call his name Yochanan, John. And you shall have joy and gladness, and many shall rejoice at his birth. For he shall be great before Yahuwah, and shall drink no wine, and strong drink at all, and he shall be filled with the set-apart spirit, even from his mother's womb. And he shall turn many of the children of Yisrael to Yahuwah their Elohim. Watch this now. And he shall go before him in the spirit and power of Eliyahu, to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the disobedient to the insight of the righteous, to make ready a people prepared for Yahuwah. So this is easily explained. It says that he's going to go in the spirit and power of Eliyahu. This doesn't mean that he is Eliyahu, because I've heard persons saying that John is a reincarnation of Elijah. I don't shun it either, because as I said, we have no idea how the spiritual realm works. So it's not like I'm shunning it. But this is not enough evidence to go off that. And I can also take you to John himself responding to persons asking him if he is Elijah. And he answered. So, to answer your question, Michael, yes, it says that he goes in the spirit of Elijah, the spirit and power of Elijah, but we also saw where Elisha went also in the spirit and power of Elijah. So that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a reincarnation of him. Let me take you to John. I just need to find it. Let me move this thing here. This thing is so annoying. Anyways. John, I don't remember where it is, but I remember it's there. John was asked if he is Elijah. Where? You tell me where him say, but I want John 1:21. All right, let us go there. Because the man himself, he answered. He was asked and he answered. So, and he confessed and did not deny, but confessed, I am not the Messiah, because they said, are you the Messiah? And they asked him, what then are you? Are you Elijah? Are you Eliyahu? So he said, I am not. And they said, are you the prophet? The prophet there being Jeremiah, because other translation tell you that they asked him if he is Jeremiah, and he answered, no. So John was asked if he was Elijah, and he said, no, I don't think John is a liar. If he was, he would have said yes. And also, it's very important for us to know. It's very important for us to note that the fact that these Hebrews, these individuals are asking these questions, it is possible that these persons believed in reincarnation, because if you don't believe in a reincarnation, you would never have asked these questions. And if reincarnation is not a thing, I'm not saying that it is. I'm just saying I would stand to believe that John would have addressed that and say, what kind of madness this is going to ask me, brethren? That's not possible. Let us hear what Michael is saying again, and then we take Miriam after that. So he said that this Elijah prophesied of turning the hearts of the sons to their fathers. You mentioned earlier in Malachi, yes. So you are saying that the Malachi reference is to John the, what you call it now, John the Baptist? Could be. We're not denying that. So I'm not shutting you down. Because as I said earlier, I won't say that reincarnation is not a thing. Because if it wasn't, these persons would not have been asking this. And if it wasn't, the man of Elohim would have said to them, listen, now ask me not, just like Yahusha when he was asked foolishness himself, listen, don't ask me any foolishness. And you would remember Nicodemus, I think we're going to look at that next week as well. Nicodemus would have asked Yahusha when he said, how can a man be born again? And Yahusha said to him, listen, you don't understand this thing because you are of the earth and you cannot understand heavenly things. The Master himself said, Yahusha himself said it. We do not understand what takes place in heaven. So I'm not shutting you down, my brother. It is very possible that but all I'm saying is that why would John say no when he was asked? I have an issue reconciling it there. But Luke 1:13, I have a good eye. I like that. He said that he shall go before him in the spirit and power of Eliyahu to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children and the disobedient to the inside, and all of these things. So it's a lot of things that we have to address, we have to look on. So good eye there. Miriam, your time. Go ahead.
Yeah. A lot of times, even we as human beings know, we would say that this person acts like that person, like an individual. Like, say, for instance, you know, you see someone, like you have a cousin or some friends and stuff like that, and you see somebody and you know that person, the demeaning of that person would have reminded you of another individual that you have met in your lifetime already or something like that. Could because when you go to the the Greek word for spirit right there, it also can refers to the thing there. The it can emphasizes like the personality and character of an individual. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that that person is reincarnate or that person is that person, but it can be that this person is acting in that capacity or like that person, so to speak.
So there's a simple essence and all of these things. Listen, I'm getting to a point, Bridget. I don't want to scare anyone, but it's just we're on a path where we're learning some things that we're learning that Christianity really kind of changed our minds. And in doing that, it also limits the power of the Creator. Well, it doesn't limit the power of the Creator, but it limits our understanding of the power of the Creator. Or we put limit to the Creator when we are raised in Christianity, because there are so many things that they say that this can happen and that can happen. And so much limit to a man who, the man even go as far as to say, listen, don't draw anything and say it is me because I showed you no form. So you literally don't even know what I look like. So I'm getting to a point where I easily grasp these things, and it don't really shake the foundation. You said a while ago that persons have the likeness of other persons. I was listening to something the other day, and a lady was on social media. She was explaining how now she believes that when her grandmother was telling her that when you're pregnant, you're not supposed to go to funerals. She said that she was pregnant and her grandmother passed. She wanted to attend the funeral because her grandmother raised her, she loved her granny, and everyone in the family was trying to prevent her from going to the funeral. And she was adamant that she had to go, and she went. And she said after she went to the funeral, she was far ahead in the pregnancy. So when she went to the funeral, she went home the night, she dreamt. She said she dreamt and she saw her grandmother. And the grandmother asked her, she had the baby in the dream. The grandmother asked her, whose child is it? She says, my child. And the grandmother said, yeah, let me hold the child. And she said in the dream she was hesitant. But she said, I'm a granny, so I'm going to give her the child. And she said the person, it's like a different voice spoke as the grandmother and said, you know, get bad up in here. And she said she jumped up out her dream. And a few weeks later, she went to the hospital and she had a stillbirth. Umbilical cord wrapped around the baby's neck, killed the baby. And she said from that day she believed. And when I watched it, I was skeptical and I said, coincidence. Even though me are one of them man that not believe in a coincidence. But for some reason I say it's coincidence. And I said, I'm going to the comment section. And when I went into the comment section, Virgin, you would not believe the amount of people, the amount of women giving the same story say it happened to them. They go to funeral. Some people say they went to the funeral and the person funeral who they went to, the baby come and look like the person, act like the person, talk like the person, walk like the person. And they say it's a living person come back in them life. And they say it is so spooky, they can't explain it. And it's like they were so happy that somebody else got through the same thing. And the comment section come like it became a community, bridge. I could not believe it. Anyways, I just said that to show you that these things are quite possible. And I showed you a couple weeks ago that the demons are transferred through sex and all of these things. So I don't put these things out of the realm of possibility. Trust me. Anybody else before we stop the recording? All right, so we can stop the recording and then we can.
Somebody asked a question.
Oh, somebody said them run go lock up them window because they're afraid of the dopey story we're talking.
Okay.
All right, so
the window can't stop him. If there's such a thing, can the window stop him from coming in? No, that'd be so nice.
No, he walk anywhere, walk.